Hey y'all, welcome to Remote Viewing Investigations with Jessica. I'm your host, Jessica Jones. We'll be peering through the veil to shed light on mysterious cases from all over the world. We invite you to join us on this magnificent journey through space and time to try to unravel these mysteries. Please don't forget to give us a thumbs up, share this out, and subscribe to Texas Front Porch and to my channel, The Cryptid Huntress on YouTube. You can find us on Odyssey Radio and iHeartRadio and can contact us at Texas Front Porch on Facebook or email us at paracryptidencounters@gmail.com and oracleofthesouth@gmail.com. You can reach us through text at 972-559-0988. If you'd like to support us in what we do here, our super chats are open. Thanks and enjoy the show. Hey everybody, welcome into Remote Viewing Investigations with Jessica. I am so glad you guys are here tonight. And it is very fitting that we have a full moon outside tonight because we're going to be talking about something that seems to have a similarity to a werewolf tonight. All right, so you guys know that I like to remote view paranormal attacks, alleged paranormal attacks. And tonight we have a really good one. All right. We're going to be talking about the alleged attack on the family by the Beast of the Land Between the Lakes out in Kentucky. All right. So back in the 1980s, there was a family that allegedly was attacked and mauled to death by a gigantic beast that was like a dog man. Okay. So this target was suggested to me by my co-host tonight, Tex from Texas Front Porch. So I'm going to go ahead and bring Tex up tonight because we have a lot to discuss. Hey, Tex, thanks for being here tonight.
How you doing?
Hey, I'm good. I'm a little perplexed over this target that I did this week because, you know, there's a lot of stories that go behind this. And there's not a whole lot of evidence backing up the fact or the idea that this family was attacked by a dog man out in Kentucky. But there's a long history that goes back from the 1960s of a dog man roaming the Land Between the Lakes recreational area. Okay. And is this the only attack that ever happened there was my question when I started this target. Okay. Because I got some really interesting data. So I thought that maybe, Tex, you could kind of explain a little bit about the history behind the Beast of the Land Between the Lakes to our audience tonight.
Yeah, sure. No problem. And y'all are going to have to excuse me. I did not, I'm between houses. I left a rent. I'm doing my shows from here, from the old house while getting things set up at the new house. So I didn't bring my reading glasses with me. I was out. I went and had dinner with Bob Van Buren, and so I had a celebrity dinner, and I ran off and forgot my reading glasses, so I can't see chat. I'm sorry, but yeah, supposedly this family had went camping. They had, had a camper they were pulling behind a car, or truck, whatever. The son and the father were in the process of setting the camper up, leveling it out, that type of thing. And this dog man come up out of a ravine, attacked them first, killed both of them. Well, the mother and the daughter were inside the camper. The mother evidently closed the door. The door was closed, either one. And of course, it didn't take long, but the dog man made entry through the door and made splinters of the door, basically, and attacked them. Well, according to what we're told, and from people, and I got to credit, I got to give credit where credit is due. Kumbo Baker was the first one I heard the story from. He had actually been in touch with one of the people from law enforcement that were on scene. So this is where that information comes from. The evidence led to the fact that the woman put just up a hellacious spot. But he eventually killed her and then got to the daughter. Well, the daughter was found. They found the daughter. They found all the rest of the bodies there at the camper. They found the daughter a ways away from the camper, 30 foot up in the Y of a tree, and she'd been obviously killed, but she'd also been partially fed on.
Yeah.
According to what we've heard, they brought in personnel by whatever agencies. They hunted this creature down and they killed it. And it was huge. They had to winch it up out of the ravine. It was so big they couldn't carry it. There was another attack on a bow hunter. I don't know the time frame, and I apologize for that. But this bow hunter had went out by himself, was going to go camping, do some hunting in the area, same area. And his wife reported him missing. Well, they went looking for him, and they found his camp was ripped to shreds. They found his bow was broken in half, which is no easy feat. And then they found him, and he was tore all apart and had been killed. So that's the two accounts that I know of. So.
Okay. Well, okay. So I'm going to tell you what I know and what I don't know and what my data came up with, because first of all, I had never heard of the LBL beast. Okay. And I know I'm a Bigfoot field researcher, but I never heard of it. I'm not real familiar with Dogman accounts because I've never encountered a Dogman. We deal with these nice little Bigfoots down here in Georgia, but I know we have Dogmen here because there's one in my county that's been reported over and over again throughout the years up in the northern part of the county that I live in. Okay. I've never heard of an attack of the Dogman, but we do have one. Now, I hadn't really heard of it very much, but everyone else has. And so everybody's chiming in with all sorts of, I've heard this and I've heard that. And have you heard about a man that claims to have been there and he was one of the kids and he hid underneath the camper and all that kind of stuff. So, it really sparked my attention and my interest. And so, you suggested this target text, and I thought it was very fitting. And the fact we're doing this under a full moon tonight is pretty interesting. I just noticed the moon as I walked outside a while ago. So, okay. So the first target that I did was describe the beast of Land Between the Lakes at the National Recreation Area in Kentucky. Okay. Well, of course, I'm thinking, all right, well, that we're seeing a pattern here, like with Bigfoot. It's always Bigfoot as a scapegoat. It's always a family, a person, somebody getting attacked by people, and it's getting blamed on Bigfoot. Okay, right. So I assume this was probably going to be the case, all right, or a bear, or a mountain lion, a cougar, or something, because they've got lots of those up in Kentucky. Okay, so. But I don't let any of that, cloud my, remote viewing or anything like that. But that was my initial thought. Okay. Well, nothing prepared me for what kind of data started coming through. Okay.
Yeah, because you said this took a lot out of you.
It took a lot. It's been taking a lot out of me ever since I started doing it. Okay. And now for everybody who's watching tonight, I'm not going to be able to talk about all of this on air. And there's a lot of stuff that's very graphic. But I have this posted on my Patreon. So if anyone would like to see the raw data, which may or may not make sense to everybody, but it's got, just key elements of all of what I was seeing there. You can go to my Patreon, The Cryptid Huntress, and get a membership. It's low price. Okay. And thank you. Big shout out to all my Patreon members. You guys are amazing. I appreciate y'all more than you know. And I hope y'all enjoy my data tonight and for all the other shows. Okay. Okay. So nothing.
One thing I want to touch on is why you're doing I don't want to say watered down, but kids glove version of it here. And then, the graphic stuff and everything that you really, that you don't feel comfortable talking about. And I think that's what it comes down to.
Exactly. Well, because a lot of it.
Yeah. I wouldn't have a problem with it, but, but I want people to understand that why you're doing it on Patreon.
Yes.
Because I think one of the reasons you do it, it's more regulated. You have to pay to get there. But like you said, it's a small price. If you want the raw details and the grisly details that's where you need to go. Because we don't want to get into the gross details on the channel, and not to mention it's a great way to support what you do. And like I was saying earlier, this takes a lot out of you. We're asking a lot of you to do this. And we had a little conversation today, and we both agree that you need to take a step back, do some lighter cases, and that's not so intense. Kind of give you a little breather, because we don't want to burn you out. We just started.
Yeah, thank you. That's why I did the Bell Witch last week, because I needed something that was a little more light, It's like remote viewing, paranormal attacks light. Okay. So, but I'm all down to do this. I want to know the truth. And ultimately I'm here to look into the facts and find out what really happened, because we deserve to know what's lurking in those woods. And that's why I do Bigfoot research, and, my team's encountered portals and Bigfoot and aliens. It's important for us to know what's out there. Okay. So we can protect ourselves and our families. Okay. So nothing prepared me for the data that started coming through. Okay. So I was thinking it would be something like a mountain lion or a cougar or something. That's what I kind of wanted it to be, but it looks as though there is a dogman in the land between the lakes. Okay. There is a beast, and it's another government cover up, everybody. So, that's the short version right here. But yes, things started coming through that, I was seeing that, there is something that people have always considered a mythological creature that's out there, and that people have talked about it for years. But, my data started getting pretty focused on what this creature is. And it doesn't seem to have any kind of relation to Bigfoot. It seems to be something completely different. Okay. There are multiple creatures in those woods. Okay. It's not just one. And there's dominant alphas. There's one dominant alpha, it said. But I don't know if that means they're all dominant alphas or there's just one. But there's a dominant alpha there. And they migrate. Okay. Like I said, there's more. And they will obliterate trespassers. So that is their territory out there. And they believe that people are trespassing. Okay. And that's why part of the reason they attack, but they are absolutely killers. There's a lone wolf. Okay. There's some that are lone wolves, and there's some that hunt in packs, let's just say.
Well, that's going to make my solo investigation out there real interesting.
I wouldn't make it solo. I had to be at least a duo out there. But they are killers, and there have been many attacks. The government watches them, okay, and keeps tabs on them. And there's I got the last bit of information off that first target was spy network. So I think that they watch them. They absolutely watch them. So, all right. So my data suggests they're real. Okay. And that I haven't even gotten into the second target yet, but Tex, that's kind of a big deal. I know Bigfoots are real. I've experienced them. I've never experienced a dogman. If anyone's interested in seeing what I saw, I will show you the sketch that I did. And part of my data is drawing a sketch, usually in my on the first page of my data. And this is what I saw. Okay, something like, I know I'm not an artist, okay, but and there's something over his face, so that's not supposed to be there. I mean, I just kind of drew him over that. That's part of my data, but it was a very muscular looking, like a man, like a stocky, tall man with a face. He didn't have a whole lot of hair, with pointy ears on top and a muzzled kind of short nose. Okay. Now, I looked online to find something that looked like that, what I saw. And the closest thing I could find, Tex, is the hyena, the canine variant 2 here on the different types of dogmen. Okay. That's kind of what I saw. Okay. It was, I want to say it was kind of a mix between the hyena and the next one over, the variant 3 maybe, but it was his head, or its head was round and like a shorter nose and ears on, sticking straight up. Okay. But it didn't have a ton of hair on it. Okay. So that's what I saw. Okay. When I was remote viewing the Beast of LBL. All right. All right. So are you ready for the second target, Tex?
Let's bring it on. And, and that doesn't surprise me in the least that you said there's multiple ones out there. I think maybe what you may have been sensing when you said the alpha, I think there's probably, if you've got several groups running around, that if you've got family groups running around, each one of them is going to have an alpha. Now, you also said lone wolf too. Those are going to be your rogues, the ones that probably, now I don't know for sure. I'm just going by what normal wolf behavior is. They get old enough, they start challenging it, and they go out and to find their own family unit. They challenge or it could possibly be that they challenge the alpha male, they beat the alpha male, and the alpha male is out there now.
Yeah.
The old alpha male is out there now by itself. So that there's a couple of possibilities there.
Well, I think that, and I'm pretty sure that not all of the dog people or dog men, whatever you want to call them, are violent and mean. Maybe they're not all that way. I don't know. But the ones that I was specifically looking for the beast, and subconsciously I'm thinking of the one that attacked the family and allegedly, and that's what I'm thinking of. And I guess maybe, I'm looking more at the one that was attacking the family, but I got a multitude of them. Right. Okay. There wasn't just one. Okay. So I wanted to look at the family who allegedly was attacked back in the 1980s. I believe it was 1982. And so I did another target, and it was explore the alleged Beast of LBL attack in April. It was allegedly in April of the early 1980s on 4 family members at the Land Between the Lakes National Recreation Area campground. Okay. Well, there's a lot of debate behind this. So this is pretty controversial. Okay. And like I said, I didn't know a whole lot about it. I knew nothing about it when you brought this up the other day. So in my opinion, long story short, yes, a family was attacked. Yes, people died. And yes, there was more than one family and more than one attack. Okay. This is not something that is just one attack. Okay. This goes on, and there's been more than one, a multitude. And when I had someone in the environment to tell me, did anyone die? And the answer was yes, more than you know. Okay.
I'm not surprised. I'm really not,
Yeah. Yeah. It's actually really sad. I did see the attack. I'm not sure exactly how to talk about this because it was there was an attack. There were multiple creatures. I think there were at least 2 that did come up and attack a family. And kind of the story that you've told is kind of where my data goes. And I do believe that. And I did consult with someone from the North American Dogman Project last night who is very close to this situation and to the story. And he knows a lot about it. And he did confirm a lot of my data last night. I sent him some information, and he sent me some things to watch. And my data did back up what the people were saying, the eyewitnesses and whatnot. So yes, pretty much a lot of the things that you said, Tex, are correct. Okay. So it did happen according to my data and from what I saw. And it was very gory. Mm-hmm. And there was a fight that was put up, and someone did shoot a gun. So I believe the dad did, or someone did shoot a gun and fire a gun, trying to protect the family. The animals were, they were scavengers and were rummaging, and they felt like these people had trespassed on their territory. Okay. There was a lot of carnage, a lot of helplessness. crying, body parts ripped, and things like that. Things like an animals would do to attack, like predators. Right. Okay, attack this family. And when I asked, what are you seeing? I was asking someone in the environment, what are you seeing there? What did you see? And it was strong men, but they're not men, is what they said. Strong men, but not men. They're beast. And beast. They didn't know what they were. They looked like men, but they weren't men, is what they said. Some of the data from these animals, I guess we can call them animals, right? The beast. They were out for blood. They were basically out for blood with this family. I was getting like blood suckers and stuff. I don't, there seems to be another cryptid that's a blood sucker. Like, is it the chupacabra, perhaps? Yeah. But they're blood suckers. Okay, is what I was getting, like some kind of blood sucker being, and very stealthy, very smooth. When they run, you don't hear them. Okay, they're agile. The ones that attacked this family were very evil. Okay. Of course, with every target that I've done so far, there's another government cover up here. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so that's why, I'm always hesitant now. I'm like, I don't, I guess we'll just go ahead and say it. The person I talked to last night with the Dogman project said, go ahead and discuss it, because people do need to know. Just to be careful when you're out in the woods. There are beasts out there. If you get killed and you get mauled, you're a blip on the radar and you're never seen again. Everything's covered up. So
yeah, I've always told everybody, if I get tore up what I'm doing, it's not a bear attack.
It's not. Yeah, right. Yeah, it's going to have to be something that's going to come at you faster than you can pull your gun out, right? I mean, I'm the same way. I mean, I honestly, I don't go into the woods unarmed, and that's just me. I don't always admit that when I'm talking to people about it, but I always take the precautions to protect myself, because you just don't know what's out there. And this target really has affected me in a lot of ways, because I did see the scene of the crime, and I saw. I don't know, people were saying that there was another person there, and I did hear that interview. I listened to that interview of the man who was there, and I'm not saying he wasn't there. He just did not show up in my data. Okay. Right. But that does not mean that he was not there. I'm not here to discredit or credit anyone. It just wasn't on my data. Okay. Right. That doesn't mean that he wasn't there. It just means that I did not catch him. I was asking for the 4 family members. I had the intent of viewing the 4 family members who died. So, take it how you will, right. but I did not pick up on a 5th person there. But like I said, it doesn't mean that person was not there. Okay. Now I did also pick up that there are trained assassins specifically to take out these dogmen.
Yeah, and we've heard that before.
They're sent in, and where's the rest of my data? They're sent in, and hold on. The government watches them. They keep a tab on all of these dogmen.
Well, depending on who you believe, who you talk to, these government agencies or whatever they are that are tasked with keeping up and keeping tabs on the population and everything, they do either put collars on them or chip them, and they do have locations on them.
So they've been collared. Have you heard that before? That's wild.
Collared or chips inserted, one of the two, maybe both.
Like a dog.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah, supposedly they're tracking the population. They know the location of them. And they'll go in and, trim the fat, as it were, if they need to.
Okay. Well, I 100% believe that now, because, from what I saw, it was quite disturbing, and and it's really sad that things like this happen. And, these people deserve better than that. There was definitely a body found perhaps in a tree. It was elevated. There was a body that was elevated somewhere who was gutted.
Yeah.
I'm just going to put it that way. And I did see that. And that was the most disturbing part. And honestly, it is, I have a child, and who's probably around that same age. And so it was really, it really affected me pretty bad. So, yeah, it was, it was tough. It was very tough. But there was, the family definitely put up a fight, and I don't want to really touch on all that because that was the most traumatic part of this whole target. But I'd rather talk about the fact that there are dogmen in this national park, and people have been talking about this since the 1960s text, and there are eyewitnesses to it, and a lot of people have seen it. Yeah, I mean, have you ever been to the Land Between the Lakes?
I haven't been yet. It's on my bucket list, and I am going to do a solo investigation in that area. So I'm going to go up there and spend a night or two up there by myself, see what I can rustle up. But
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at some of the questions, and there's people are asking if the shots were fired. Was that from the father before he was killed? Or one of the other boys? Well, see, I only picked up on 4 people there. So I'm not sure if there was another person there, but I didn't pick up on who shot the gun, but there was definitely a gunshot. Okay. And so, I mean, I would assume it was the father, but I'm not sure. Okay. I actually, I'm not sure. Do you know who Dogman came about? Where were you shown that? Do I know where they came from? Is that the question? I guess.
I think that's what she's asking.
Well, I can tell you which direction they came from. I actually, I didn't know what I was drawing. A lot of times we do little sketches. I always do a sketch. And if you want to see the data, it's on my Patreon, but I do have a sketch, and Tex, I sent it to you. I know Tex didn't want to see my data before the show, and I don't blame you, Tex. It's always fun to get a good surprise, right? But I do have a sketch, and I believe the sketch, because it was just a bunch of rectangles and squiggly lines and arrows. But now I see it, and I think it was a camper, and I think there was something behind it, and I think there's I think it's the direction the dogs came in, the dogmen. I think that's what the arrows and the squiggly lines are the directions that they came in and the way they left. So, so I do have that on there. So, I have to see a map. Now I did pull some pictures up, and I don't have a map of the exact area, the location of where the campground was, where this took place.
Right.
But here's a overhead shot of the Land Between the Lakes. Okay. I did pull some of these pictures up. But there's also the whole thing with the man named Roger who claimed to have been there. And he, there's a picture drawn, and this is a pretty well-known picture, a sketch that, he claims of what he saw. Okay. So, and Tex, let's talk about the differences, all the different types of dogmen. I think there's more than one, and I do have a picture to pull up of the different types. So what do you know about the dogmen, Tex? Because I know you've seen one.
Yeah. And oddly enough, I really can't. I guess the one that looks the most like the one I saw is a mixture between the 2 lower ones in the middle, the hyena and was the variant 3. And but you're talking about different types.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a theory on that, because if you go back and you look at ancient civilizations before the Great Flood, there's a lot of civilizations that label these things as deities, and the Egyptians, the Chinese, the list goes on. I think what happened, it's just my opinion, the Great Flood almost wiped out the species, but there was a
Mm-hmm.
few that survived. And I
Mm-hmm.
think to save the species, they had to breed with the canines, the modern canines. And I think that's why we see so many different types. I think what we're seeing is just different breeds. We're seeing mutts,
Mm-hmm.
mutt
Yeah, it could
versions of
be.
what they used to be. And they were credited back in the day with having super intelligence, even talking. And I think they've lost that due to that mixed breeding. They're
Hmm.
still intelligent creatures. Don't get me wrong, but they're not as intelligent as they used to be back before the flood. I don't think. And then, like I said, that's just my opinion. In fact, I did a whole video on it. People want to watch it. It's on channels. My theory of Dogman. So,
Yeah.
but I've heard of they got what's called the super soldier. Supposedly was engineered by modern day governments. I've heard that they do experiments with these things. I've heard there's um, at least one facility where they escaped and wiped out an entire village of people before they got them under control. So, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of cover up out there with this stuff.
Part of my data did suggest that this beast, some of them had escaped from a facility.
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. So are they killing machines or are they self-aware? Hey, Nana Boss. Uh, they are. I think they're both. It depends.
I
Yeah,
don't
I
think
think. I
all
think.
of them are. I don't think all of
Yeah.
them are killers.
Hmm. I agree with that. I agree with that. Now, the ones that I was picking up on were because they were the ones attacking the family. Okay, but I think that there's a multitude of them, and there may not be a ton of them. There might be like up to 5 or 10. Okay, maybe
Right.
that's what I mean when I say multiple, a multitude. Okay,
Right.
so yeah, let's pull up. Let's see some of these questions. Text we've got. Do you get any feeling of what origin the dogmen are, or is that possible to know? I'm not sure. I mean, I know what I saw, and so I would say that they're more of like a hyena type, perhaps. But they were scavengers, and I don't even know where they come from, or um, I didn't dive much deeper into it because those two targets took so much out of me that I couldn't do anymore. I mean, I was actually going to try to remote view the bow hunter today, but I didn't have time and I wasn't feeling very good. I was kind of done with it. I was ready to just go with the data that I had today. So,
It's
but it's
understandable.
yeah, I can look into it in the future, but I just wanted to get an overall view, so we could know just to inform everybody and talk about it tonight on the show. Okay. And so yes, so there was more than one. Absolutely. There was more than one that attacked this family. I think there were two. Okay. I don't think there was a whole gang of them. I think there were probably two. Um, there was definitely one, most possibly two. I picked up on two. Okay. Um, but yeah, it was quite brutal. Now, after talking to a gentleman from the North American Dogman Project yesterday evening, apparently, he knows of more attacks, and I was sent some, videos, information, things of confessions of people who had seen other people die there. Okay, and be attacked. So, yeah.
And we're gonna I'm gonna reach out to this individual
Uh huh.
um, because we've had him on the show in the past, and this would be a great subject to talk about.
Hmm.
So, the other attacks and stuff, if he's willing to talk about that. So,
Yeah. Well, and I was not aware of all of that at all. And like I said, I didn't even know what this was. I said,
right.
LBL attack, what the heck is that? And so it's interesting. And yeah, just like with the other show that we did with the Dyatlov Pass, um, it's there's always a chance of after I do this, the next day getting a smear campaign or people trying to discredit me. because a lot of times people don't want this stuff exposed.
Right.
Okay. Right, Tex? And so, I would not put my reputation on the line if I did not trust my data
Exactly.
and did not trust my remote viewing skills, because I'm not terrible at it. Okay.
Now I have an interesting question, and I know you
Okay.
didn't, over past the 2 targets, you didn't dive into it,
hmm
but did you get the feeling that there may like any interdimensional things going on, or
Yes.
or you did?
It's in my data. Yeah, I
Oh,
had
okay.
not brought that up yet. I was trying to get the meat and potatoes out, but I
Right.
absolutely did.
Okay.
Interdimensional and portals.
Sorry, I
Yes.
jumped the gun. That's
No,
what I
I'm
get for
glad.
not reading
No,
the
well,
material.
I would not have talked about it had you not brought it up, actually, because that was some of the stuff that I had. But I'm just to put it out there that we had a Dogman.
Right.
Was the big thing. This is real. The attack happened. Okay, and yes, I did get interdimensionals and portals. Okay, there's something very metaphysical about these things. Very supernatural. Let's see if I can find it in my data. Yeah, there was definitely, I believe it was in the first target that I did. Gateway. I got they're coming in and out of a portal or some sort of a gateway.
Now, do you
And
think?
they're
I'm sorry, I
interdimensional.
keep interrupting you.
It's okay.
If I don't ask these questions when they pop into my head, I won't ask them. Do you think that it could be? Do you think it's an interdimensional portal, or is there a possibility that maybe it's a physical gateway? Maybe that's the
Yeah.
facility.
Yeah,
thing?
because I got that too. I did. I actually got that as well. And it was something about it was almost like they were in a jail or some kind of cage and they escaped. Okay. So absolutely, Tex. It could be any of that. And like I said, I did not take the time to dive more into it because the whole thing affected me pretty bad
Right.
with the attacks. Okay, because not only when I was asking about the attack on that one family, I started picking up on multiple attacks. Okay, and
Gotcha.
and it wasn't just like a one person attack. These are couples and families and stuff like
Right.
that. So it's a lot, but and it's really sad because these people you have to wonder, like, well, the people that were involved in it, the coroner's office, the sheriff's department, the DNR, the Fish and Wildlife. I mean,
Yep.
the feds. How are they living their lives today, knowing that this happened? And they take their kids out to those parks,
Well,
and let them play around at night. I mean, probably not.
I think that you have to have the same mindset as a soldier does, because as a soldier, there's a lot of soldiers out there that know stuff that they can't talk about, stuff that they've seen, and they may know a greater truth than what they're allowed to talk about, what they're allowed to
Right.
say, and even things that they've done. Yet they come home and they live with it. Not all of them successfully, unfortunately. Which I think that's where our government falls, drops the ball big time, is not giving these vets the help they need to get back in a normal mindset and really try to put this stuff behind them and really live with it. But I think that you have to. That's got to be the same mindset as coming home from combat, seeing something that you can't talk about. I think the people that's dealt with this have to have that. That's what we're seeing. They probably deal with PTSD as much as anybody else does.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I couldn't imagine. But yeah, there seems to be a lot of people, especially even in the comments tonight in the chat, that are familiar with this story and have all heard a version of it at some point. And and hearing secondhand or third hand about what happened. So, I would be interested to talk to the gentleman who claims to have been there,
Yeah.
because we don't know, I, as a researcher, I don't like discrediting anyone's information, but I also know, and I'm not saying he is one, but there are also plants and people that are put out there to throw an investigation off and to um, spin doctors and things like
Yeah.
that on things, especially regarding the paranormal. And when we start getting too close to the truth, somebody's going to step in with a smear campaign or something.
Yeah.
And that's just one of the parts of what we're doing right now, I think. So yeah. Okay.
I think a lot of people, and it's like you said, a lot of people have heard so many different versions of it, and it seems to me that Kumbo's version seems to fall pretty much in line. Now, he never mentioned multiple, dogmen, but that doesn't, the investigators might not even know, you know, um, I'm sure they did, but the guy that he was talking to may not have been privy to that information,
That's true.
because
Yeah.
I totally believe that just because law enforcement got out there on scene, they saw the initial crime scene, they saw the initial investigation, they didn't get the whole picture,
Yeah.
because I've seen it happen. Cover-ups that cover-ups.
Really?
Yeah, because we all know that, government departments and law enforcement departments, different departments, don't share all their information. So,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, your sheriff's departments and your game wardens and stuff like that, park rangers, they may have initially went out there, and then the other agency got called in, and they were like, okay, y'all go direct traffic,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
So, and they didn't get all the nuts and bolts of what actually happened.
Yeah. I mean, that happens on, state levels too. I was called
Mhm.
out to investigate a Bigfoot sighting, multiple Bigfoot sightings at a state park here in Georgia. And, we got out there. There wasn't a whole lot of activity, but it doesn't mean there was nothing there. I was only there for a weekend with a couple
Right.
of my guys scouting it out. And, it seemed like some of the other people, we contacted the coroner's office because we'd heard there had been a death there from a Bigfoot,
Right.
and stuff. And the coroner actually didn't know anything about it, and there was actually something else that happened to a person that died there that was not Bigfoot related whatsoever. It was a drug overdose. So
Yeah.
the story got skewed somewhere down the line, and I don't know if it was just misinformation or what, but that's why we never take our whole team out to investigate Bigfoot sightings and things like that, because it gets lost in translation, the things that
Right.
happen out there. And whether things are covered up or just the chain of command is just, there's a stopping point somewhere and people get the wrong information. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. But Bat Mom, I do not do remote viewing for private situations. I don't. Like I said, it takes a lot out of me, and so I just don't. I will do them for the show, and that's about it. I have helped one of my best friends find her cat, and one of my teammates find her dog. But other than that, I don't. I mean, it would probably be a pretty lucrative career for me if I did that, but no, I don't do that as of right now.
Okay, and another account that um, we're going to look into, or hopefully we'll get you to look into in the future, is the one that we talked about. We mentioned um, the attack on the man in Lipan, Texas. He was walking down the road. He went missing. They found him. He had his throat ripped out. No other marks on the body. The coroner and the sheriff's department wrote it off as a mountain lion attack, but the Parks and Wildlife Department and the private contracted tracker that they brought out said there was no evidence of a mountain lion attack, but they could not tell the public what had happened.
Hmm. Well, you know, a lot of times if there's a different kind of cat in the area that's not supposed to be there,
Yeah.
they don't want to report that that cat's there, like a black panther or something. You know, we have that here in Georgia. You know, there's clearly this panther roaming around, and DNR doesn't want to admit it because then they have to deal with that, and they have to change the protocol, and they have to, you know, change everything around. So, um,
Right.
it could be that too. They just don't want to admit that there's something there that is not supposed to be there, you know, other than a Bigfoot or a dogman. But you're right. It's probably a dogman or something. I mean, I know for sure these things exist.
I do
Um,
too.
and I know you do, but my data absolutely backs up the fact that there is a dogman. I did actually see it, and I did see a family get attacked, um, multiple families. So, you know, and it's almost like the David Politis missing 411. You know, he could do a whole series on people that go missing with no trace. They got attacked by a
Yeah.
dogman. You know.
Well, and I saw the comment by Shelley Covington, Montana, which, I mean, she's a tracker. That's what she does. And
Wow.
I think what a lot of people think as what they're calling digigrade, when, and I try to put it across when I describe what I saw, is I don't think he had the true backwards dog legs. I think what people are seeing is it's a long foot, but they're up on their toes, and that's what I saw. It didn't appear to me that it was a backward facing dog leg. It was a human leg with just a long foot, but he was up on his toes.
Wow.
So that, to me, that answers the whole digigrade, can't be bipedal, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And that's just me.
Interesting. Now, is that what the one that you saw looked like? It what you say that it was walking like that?
Yeah.
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 Wow. Okay. So with these things being so vicious, why do you think they wouldn't just close the park? The LBL is extremely populated constantly. That's from Ashley text. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's number one, it's money, and number two, they would have to answer why did you close an entire national park? You know,
It's a huge park. It's like 172,000 acres,
yeah,
right,
and it
Tex?
reaches 2 states. So
Wow. It does. Is it Tennessee and Kentucky?
I believe so. Yeah,
Yeah.
but to me, it's all the money, and I think they mistakenly. No, I don't think it's mistakenly. I think they arrogantly think that they have these things under control, and obviously they do not.
Mm-hmm.
But there may very well have been taken steps taken to. You said they were housed in a facility at one time, so maybe
Mm-hmm.
they've got them back in the facility. Who knows?
Yeah. Then they'd have to tell them why. Yeah. You know, according to some of the stuff that I was sent last night to kind of go over about the park from the gentleman from the Dogman Project, you know, there's bunkers there that had not always been there before. These little concrete bunkers. Tex, are you familiar with those and what those are about?
Actually, yeah, Kumbo touched on those. They were at one time either National Guard training or they were some kind of military training site, is what it was. So,
Oh,
yeah,
huh.
they had
Maybe
either
there were
made
some barracks or
pillboxes.
something.
They had either made pillboxes, and so they could simulate attacking a pillbox in combat, or something like that. So that's my
Oh,
understanding.
what is a pillbox? Like an arsenal shed or something?
No, what it is, it's basically these are reinforced concrete bunkers, basically. And a
Okay.
pillbox is a machine gun nest, is what it is.
Oh, okay. See, I don't know. I'm just the common everyday layman. I have no idea what
Yeah,
that is.
it's got a porthole in the top where you
Yeah,
a gun slot, so you can
a
shoot
portal,
out of it and
right?
stuff like that.
Porthole. I love
Porthole,
that. Yeah, yeah. There's all sorts of portholes out there.
that's it.
Apparently, yeah. Yeah. I don't know, Tex. These dogmen are everywhere. Now, what about our government having trained assassins to hunt these things down and watching them and having a network that watches them? I mean, you said that some of them are collared, some of them are chipped just like dogs. If we have assassins going after these dogs, and I did get trained assassins, and at first in my data, I was thinking, well, are these animals trained assassins? Okay. But then I went back and I kind of meditated on that a little bit. And I was seeing that it was more of trained assassins are going after them. Okay. So, I mean, is this a division of our military? I mean,
Oh yeah, I think if not, it's contractors, mercenaries.
I believe that.
That's what I think anyway.
Yeah.
But, according to everything I've heard, there's not only teams that go out and hunt these creatures, but also, what they call nuisance Bigfoot.
Yeah.
we got there's the report of the whole family of Bigfoot being executed basically from a helicopter.
Yeah.
So,
okay. Yeah, I've heard that before too. Yeah. Well, we have about a minute left, Tex. Now, before we have to go and let our iHeart listeners go and our Odyssey Radio listeners go, I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. Now, Tex, do you want to go on a little bit after the break, or
sure.
are we good for the night? You want to go on for a little bit? We can talk some more Dogman.
I love this.
Okay. Topic. Yeah, I do too. Well, this is your specialty, Tex. So, yeah, we're going to cut our the first part of the show tonight, and say goodbye to our iHeart and Odyssey listeners. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. We appreciate y'all being here, and y'all join me next week on Remote Viewing Investigations with Jessica. All right, we'll see y'all soon.
Four minutes to go, folks. 4 minutes. Three minutes. We're almost there. 2-minute warning, guys. 2-minute warning. One minute. 1 minute.
Well, hey, y'all. So before I say anything else, I forgot to mention in the first part of our show that I will be speaking at the Georgia Bigfoot Conference tomorrow. So I want everybody that's going to be in Georgia tomorrow, if y'all can, please come out to the Georgia Bigfoot Conference, and you can get your tickets and all the information at the georgiabigfootconference.org. Okay. So there's going to be a lot of really good speakers. My friend Matthew Delph is speaking, and Robin Hayes McCrae is speaking, and we've just got a nice little lineup down there tomorrow, or up there actually. It's north of where I live, and it's going to be a really good time. So I hope you guys will come out and see us and hear me talk more about Bigfoot. Okay. All right. Well, Tex, we're back.
Well, I'm going to jump off with a shameless plug right off the bat. We are also going to be in June. We're going to be at the Alabama Bigfoot Conference. And it's going to be me and Jason and Rob are all going to be speaking. Bob Van Buren will be there. You are looking at coming also.
I will be there. I will be there with bells on.
So, well, that I'll pay to see that. But
as long as you wear your leggings.
Yeah. Well, and if we raise enough money to pay for Rob's flight from Michigan and back, I will wear sexy leggings.
Well, shoot, yeah. Let's do it, y'all.
So, but you can get your tickets at BamaBigfootConference.com. So,
yeah.
Y'all come out and see us if you're in the area. And I'll be more than happy to sit down and talk to you. I'd love to meet every one of you.
I know that's going to be a good time, Tex. Yeah, and actually, the head of one of my teams, Trey Hudson's going to be speaking there with you guys too. So he wrote a book about our research. It's called The Meadow Project. And I'm pretty sure y'all probably heard something about that because I talk about it all the time. So, yeah. So he's going to be there. He actually lives in Oxford, Alabama. So nice. Tex, I went out with his team to do some ghost hunting this past year a couple of times. So I did some haunted house investigations with him and his ghost hunting team called Oxford Paranormal Society. And we had some weird stuff go down. So yeah, that's really good. Good times. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And hey, tomorrow is going to be fun. Can't wait to talk Bigfoot and meet Bigfoot people and see all the vendors with all their Bigfoot stuff. And maybe I'll find a Bigfoot, funnel cake. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Well, they just down in Texas, they just came out with a deep fried Cadbury egg. So,
Oh, okay. Just in time for Easter, right?
yeah.
Just in time for Easter. Yeah. And that's another thing. The Easter bunny comes tomorrow night. So I can't stay late tomorrow night. I got to make it back home because my kids got the Easter bunny coming. So yeah, but we're still going. Maybe we'll see Bigfoot with some Easter bunny ears on tomorrow. But
Well, and I've got to tell
anyways,
you, you can tell your kid that Santa had a personal conversation with the Easter Bunny, and he's going to treat him right. So,
oh, Santa, that's right. I'll let him know. I'll let him know. He's probably downstairs watching our show right now, so
there
I'm
you
sure he
go.
heard you. Yeah. Oh man. Well, I mean, we've been talking about the Dogman tonight, Tech. So you're our resident expert on Dogman. I know nobody's the expert, but you're a resident experiencer. Okay.
There you go. There you
Yeah,
go.
you're the resident experiencer. Now, are
Well,
you planning on talking about that at the Alabama conference?
yeah, I'm going to mix things up a little bit. We are going to.
Yeah.
I could not look myself in the mirror if I did not speak on that because
Yeah.
it's what got me really. I mean, it's what started me down this path. It kind of put me where I'm at now. So I got to talk about it, and I doubt anybody is going to shoot me for getting off the Bigfoot topic for a few minutes. So
No, according to my data, I don't see any connection between Bigfoot and Dogman
I don't think there is.
genetically. I really don't. Um, I was trying to explore that, and there's really not a connection there. So I'm not going to say I was surprised, but I just didn't pick up any. I didn't pick up any Bigfoots in that area. Actually, I think that's kind of what I was. I was kind of poking around, trying to figure out if there's a Bigfoot out there, and I did not pick up Bigfoot. So that told me that these things are not Bigfoot, and I've always thought there was a connection, but I guess there's not.
Well, and a lot of people, like again, depending on who you talk to, a lot of people say they've caught images of Dogman and Bigfoot together in the nest. Some of them use, they have different relationships with them. Maybe they use them for protectors. They use them for guard dogs. They use them for this. And the other people, they're bitter freaking enemies.
That's what I hear. More mortal enemies, right? All right. So I got a question. So Jessica, Ida wanted to know if you felt Dogman inhabit the LBL year round. Well, I did get the fact that there's a migration going on. So maybe not. I mean, I personally feel like they probably do, but they do migrate as well. Something's migrating through there. So that was part of what I was seeing in my data.
Yeah,
I don't know.
and I wonder when we hear migrate, when you're picking up the term migration, I'm wondering if it's like we talked about, if it's just they have a territory that they move through.
Yeah, could be.
It's not they're not necessarily on a migration pattern like geese.
Well, the thing about it is that's 172,000 acres.
Right.
That's a lot of land. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that could be like a small state, right? I mean, that's a lot. That's probably bigger than a small state like Rhode Island or whatever. I don't know how many. Yeah. So, yeah, it's all about perspective, actually, is what I would say. So, I'm not sure, but I did get migration in my data. So, I can tell you, I wouldn't want to go camp out there by myself, Tex.
Yeah, well, it's like I've said it before. There's a fine line between bravery and stupidity, and I've been known to cross that line a time or two. So,
right. Now, okay, are you familiar with the Portlock, Alaska case too? And I'm not trying to get off topic of where we're at. Is that more? Do you think that's more of a Bigfoot, a Yeti, or could that be a Dogman?
Well, according to the reports everything that I've heard and I've read and everything, from what they described, it was Bigfoot.
Okay, that's what I was thinking too. But
I don't know. I don't know where. I don't know where Bigfoot turns into Yeti, where the boundary is, but
where it's cold.
Yeah, I don't know.
I got snow.
Yeah. But because when people think about Yeti, they think, oh, white, but that's not necessarily true. They've talked about Yetis being different colors. So
Well, there's a white Bigfoot in Alabama.
Yeah, and there's a supposedly a not white but blonde one that runs around Brown Springs.
A blonde one.
Mm-hmm.
Do y'all crack blonde jokes at that thing or what?
And actually, the second one that I saw was, you've seen these cats that are they have this gray, white, black coat that's all mixed up.
Mm-hmm.
Calico.
Calico, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what the second critter that I saw looked like. That's the coat it had. The first one I saw was solid black.
Oh, interesting.
So I know there's more than one critter out there for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. You can tell by the coloring. That's really interesting. Yeah. Especially if you're out there in their environment a lot and you get to know them.
And these were daylight sightings. So, it was.
Yeah.
I saw, the one was 50, 60 yards away from me, popped up out of a wheat field. And I was, I pretty good shot at him. And then the one that I saw, the calico colored one, I saw him through a set of binoculars about 40 yards into the trees. So,
wow. Now, have you ever shot at one of these things? I know you've been startled by the Dogman when you were younger. Is that something that ever happened?
I would not. Okay, let me, because this is kind of a weird subject for me, because it's not. I don't think on very rare occasion they're alone. Okay, I think there's always another one or maybe two around. So if I had, and I can't answer this with a yes or no. If I knew that this critter was by itself and I had it in my sights and I was confident I could take it down, I cannot say if I could pull the trigger or not. I honestly can't, because there's been so many reports of, in fact, I've got an encounter on the channel about this very thing. This guy had one in his sights and had the crosshairs on its head.
Really? And
then it looked at him and shook its head no.
Wow.
So I don't know if and you hear so many other reports about, well, I had this thing dead to rights and I couldn't pull the trigger because it looked so human. I'm not going to sit here and say I could pull the trigger if I wanted to. I don't know.
Yeah.
Nobody knows how they're going to react, how they're going to behave when when an opportunity like that arises. So anybody that says I'd shoot one, you don't know.
Yeah.
Well, you can't even shoot. Most people can't even shoot one with a camera, much less a gun.
I know. They just kind of blur out and your bullet goes right over it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've been in the woods and I've encountered a brick wall, an invisible wall where I could not go past it. I could not go past that wall. Something in my body, something was telling me, it was stopping me from moving forward. Okay. So I can imagine if I'm getting that kind of, I don't know if you'd call that mind speak, or you would just call that an energetic brick wall. But if I can encounter that, I'm sure if I had a gun pointed at one of them, something would tell me not to do it. I mean, because I have been told energetically, don't go past this line. Now, I don't know if that's something that just I experience because I can pick up energies very well, or if they can do that to anybody, just picking up on those weird energies that they can send out.
Yeah, I don't know, because I've been, and I used to call it zapped.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
But and there again, when we start talking about infrasound, you have to credit Kumbo Baker, which I really hope we can get him on the show sometime. That'd be an awesome conversation. But I'm not sure, because of everything that's involved out there in Brown Springs, I can't now say it was infrasound.
Okay.
But the effects were, I was walking along, I had point, there was 4 of us up there, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks. I broke out in a cold sweat. I felt like I was fixing to pass out. I was real weak, disoriented. to the point where I was hugging a tree and leaning on it. Everybody walked past me, turned around and looked at me and says, "Oh my God, what's wrong with you? You know, you're white as a ghost." And I said, "Just let me in it. You know, just let me breathe a minute, you know, and I may have to go back to the truck. Y'all go on." But about 5 or so minutes passed and it was gone. I felt better after that than I did before. And I took point right back up and here we went. But I don't know. I can't say that was infrasound. I used to be convinced it was infrasound. But then you start with this paranormal as a hotbed that area is up there in Brown Springs. And I've talked to Amy and Laney from What the Paranormal. That very well could have been something trying to attach itself to me also. So,
Yeah.
you know, and then I had another experience when we were out there again in the same area where, and this was weird. I'd never had this happen. I felt flushed and my arms felt like they were heavy. Like I'd just been working out and they felt heavy and like they were being pulled down. And so I don't know. And they said that's something that's trying to attach itself to you. So I don't know. And then you throw in the whole crossing of the ley lines, the possible EMF factor. Yep. We just can't nail it down, you know?
Yeah. Well, because everything is connected in some weird way, you know, and maybe it's not all connected, but it all happens together, you know, a lot of times. And so it's hard to distinguish what's what. And, you know, if there is something trying to attach to you or if there's trickster spirits, you know, there's a lot of trickster spirits out in those woods. Okay. And I don't know if that has something to do with it being on like Native American land or what, but lots of high strangeness. Yeah. Are you referring to Brown Springs Road near the casino, Tex?
Yes, I am. That is Love County Wilderness Wildlife Refuge. And there's, you know, they've got camping areas cleared out down there off the roads and stuff. And that's where we do the lion's share of our research. And we've had multiple encounters down there.
Yeah.
And where these particular things happened to me was up in the cemetery. And of course, I've had my 2 daylight sightings. We've had several encounters that we can't identify as being a critter. Because like I said, again, with all the paranormal activity that overlaps the Bigfoot activity, it's hard to separate them. I'm to the point now to where I can only, in my mind, say beyond a reasonable doubt in my mind that the 2 daylight sightings and the instances where I had rocks thrown at me, that's the only ones I can legitimately say, okay, yeah, I think that was a Bigfoot. All the rest of it could have very well been paranormal. Even the time that we saw, we thought we had things run through the camp right up beside my truck back into the trees, but we did find physical evidence. This thing had been standing there watching us from outside the camp. We found a broken twig that had been like you messing with your fingers and like broke it in 2 or 3 places and dropped it. And it wasn't there because we would go over the camp area with a fine-tooth comb, you know, and we found this after the fact. So that to me, that's very telling. That was probably a Bigfoot, you know. But in my mind, it probably was, but I can't say for sure. And then we saw in that same night, we saw what we thought was a big half broke off tree, and then it walked off.
Oh, the tree walked off.
Yeah,
I've heard that before.
You know, so
yeah, that's interesting. You know, people say that Bigfoots are trees, and they can be trees. I just think they're trying to look like trees to throw us off. I don't think they are trees.
It was dark, and what it was, we saw this dark figure it looked like a big tree standing there, and then it just turned and walked off. And
Wow.
that same night, we on the other side of camp, Gary Spikes Jr. It was me, Gary Spikes Sr., Pops. Well, I call him Pops, but Gary Spikes Sr. He may be in the chat. I can't see, so I can't tell you if he is or not. And his son, Gary Spikes Jr. Both of these guys are phenomenal freaking trackers. But Gary Jr. saw on the other side of camp that same night, eye shine about 8 foot up, about 10 yards, 15 yards from the camp, just standing there watching us, and then we get all this other activity. I believe that's the same night when the storms came through and all that kind of stuff, but that may have been a different night because we've been out there several times together. And then me and Pops were sleeping in his trailer, and he had rocks thrown in his trailer so hard they left dents in it.
Ooh.
So
yeah. That's always fun. I've had rocks thrown at my tent all night. That wasn't very fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a buddy of mine down in Brown Springs with me, and he went to go down in his hammock, and they've been tossing little pebbles through the tree line at us for a couple hours, I believe, and we could see him sailing through the tree line towards camp, and he went and laid down his hammock. And they started pinging his hammock with him.
Well, he was the Bigfoot burrito that night, so he was getting pelted.
Exactly.
The Bigfoot burrito. That I have never been a Bigfoot burrito. I take my hammock, but I always end up sleeping in my tent for that very reason. Because I go and set my tent up near my friends that will be in their hammocks. My buddy Keith, he always brings his hammock, so I would go near him so that the Bigfoot would get him first instead of me. Okay. You got to think like that, y'all. You got to think like that when you're in the woods.
So what we're saying is Bigfoot is attracted to hammocks.
Yes.
Like tornadoes are attracted to trailer houses.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Always, that's one of my pro tips. Okay. Tex, we should write a book about pro tips when it comes to Bigfoot, and because I think we know all the tricks by now. We're learning them. Now, okay, we got a question from Ida. So I didn't pick up Bigfoot in the area. Do you think it's because they have assassins for these dogmen? I don't know. It may be because there's dogmen there, or, I tend to think there's probably both, but I just didn't pick up on any Bigfoot in the area when I was remote viewing it. Okay. The area where the attack happened. So, I didn't see any. Like Tex was saying, they could be mortal enemies. That's a theory. So who knows? I mean, they may be besties too.
I personally, and this is just my opinion, I think they tolerate each other, but they don't tolerate each other very well in the same area. I think they're like opposing magnets, is what But I don't think they want to, because no animal wants to expend the energy or risk getting injured or killed in a fight if they can avoid it. That's why you have the bluff charges. You have all this kind of stuff. I think the signs that they give us, the bluff charging and all this kind of stuff, that's them trying to keep the encounter from getting ugly. It's like the gentleman that was camped out on the Texas side of the Red River. He was going to be out there for a week. The third night, evidently, he had been ignoring the signs. He didn't know what he was. I would say he didn't know what was going on, but he was deer hunting, and 3 Bigfoot attacked his deer blind, and they were reaching through the walls and trying to grab him. But the only place that they didn't attack was the exit. So he grabbed his rifle and took off running. And of course, they shadowed him the whole way to the river. He jumped in his boat and left. They didn't hurt him. They had him dead to rights. If they wanted this guy, they could have killed him. But they left him a way out. So I think even going to that extent, maybe he invaded their hunting area. There's theories out there that area is a hunting area for them. but who knows?
Who knows? I mean, you know what I like to do, Tex? I have like an 8 or 6-man tent, right? It's like a big one. It's my I call it my glamping camp space, okay? And I put my rugs down. I've got my little tent, my little cot that I put, sleep on, and I put it dead center in that tent because I know that those daggum Bigfoot are gonna come in there and stick their fingers in my tent, okay, and try to poke at me. And I want to be in the very middle where they can't reach me. So, yeah, I know. And, I actually have a friend, Terry Wendell. He's with Rock Hill Bigfoot out of South Carolina. And he comes out with my team and does research. And he told an account on my show one night about how a Bigfoot poked its finger into his tent and he saw the finger. It was a crazy, funny story, actually, but pretty scary. I mean, that could be terrifying to people who aren't expecting that.
Gary Spike Sr. Was up in Falk, Arkansas at that camp out they have every year. This was obvious. This was and Pops, I'm sorry if I get this wrong. You can shoot me later. But it was a first date of his with a woman that he had met, and he took her to this, and they were sleeping in a tent, and a Bigfoot actually picked up the corner of the tent and turned them. So that's a heck of a first date.
Well, imagine, getting married down the road and being like, you remember our first date?
Now I've had two things happen to me kind of like that when I was camping. The latest one was the last time I was out, and it's been a while because I've been so busy with other stuff, but it was the last night we were there, and I set my tent up the exact opposite of what you do.
Okay.
I put myself in the corner of the tent as close to the edge as I can. Because I want that to happen. And
I don't want to get poked.
So I'm laying there, and about 1:30 in the morning, I woke up, and Pops was there, and Gary Jr. was there, and I thought it was Gary Jr. had gotten up or somebody had gotten up because the campsite we were at was gravel or caliche, and I heard somebody walking beside my tent. Well, I thought one of the guys had got up and they were walking beside my tent. That's what it sounded like. Now hearing something on all fours walking around on gravel, is a little different than hearing a man walking around on gravel.
Right.
So I wake up and I hear this thing walking beside my tent, and I thought it was one of them. So I'm laying there, and the cot I have, and I put an air mattress on top of my cot. So I'm pretty high off the ground. And right next to my ear, I hear,
oof. Oh,
So, and I'm laying there.
It sounds like a bear.
Okay, it could be because we've seen bear in the area. I said it could be a bear. It could be okay. I'll play a devil's advocate. It could be a pig. It could be a deer. I'm going through all these. It could be a critter.
Oh, coming to give you a good night kiss, huh?
Yeah. And I'm laying there, and my next thought was, crap, my pistol's in my truck.
Oh.
So I roll over, I grab my phone, I hit record, I lay it back down, and I just rolled over and went back to sleep. Now, on
like a true researcher, I love that.
The next 2 hours of that recording, and I've got it, and I wanted to send it to somebody that's better than I am breaking it down. But from what I've listened to, I'm getting wood knocks about every 2 or 3 minutes all over the place.
Wow.
And there's a few really good ones, but
wow.
I really need somebody that I can send that to and let them break it down that's better than I am. And I got somebody in mind, but I know he's busy. But the other thing that happened to me one time was years ago. I had actually taken my wife camping and to a state park, and we were tent camping, and I'm laying there, and my head had gotten up against, I was asleep. My head had gotten up against the wall of the tent. And I wake up to this on the top of my head.
Oh, see, that's why I get in the middle, Tex. I don't get near the edge. Never.
So I wake up, I kind of open one eye and I'm looking around, and this thing's still playing with my head. And I'm thinking, all right.
Whew.
And then I figured out what it was.
What was that?
It was a raccoon licking the dew off the tent where my head was pressed up against it.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Now, if that had been my wife that it did happen to, we'd had a hole in the top of the tent.
Oh my gosh, that's such a sweet story, though. A little raccoon came to give you dew kisses.
Yeah. So
at least it wasn't a Bigfoot.
So yeah.
That's wild. Well, Tex, we have a question. Do you think people can be tagged by the Sasquatch and always have encounters? Because this is something I've heard before. What do you think about?
I have too. I'm not sure if because I can't discredit all the mind speak and all this kind of stuff. I haven't had it. I haven't experienced it. That's all I can say about that. But if that's possible, why not? But I will say this. I think if you go to an area enough and they get used to you being there, they get used to seeing you there, they feel comfortable with you there more than they do others, then why it makes sense that you would have more encounters. They're going to show themselves to you more.
Right.
To me, it just makes sense. It's like any other animal that gets comfortable with you, But what, and I know I'm going to get beat up for using the term wild animals. As human as we think these things may be, they're not. And I'm sorry if I offend anybody. To me, they're not these tree-hugging, forest-friendly people. They're just not. They're unpredictable animals just as much as we are unpredictable animals. I'll put it that way.
I agree. Al has a good point. Hey, Al. He doesn't understand why no one ever gets out of the tent to check. And that's a good point. It doesn't always happen like that. I've jumped out of my tent once or twice because I knew there were people around me and that they were going to protect me if something happened. But, I feel like there's something to that because, even when I have experiences in my home, when I've had paranormal encounters, something stops me from getting up and something just kind of makes me feel like everything's okay. Just go back to sleep. Okay. And that's kind of what a lot of us experience, right, Tex? It's like something tells us, oh, just go back to sleep. It's fine. It's nothing.
Well,
what is that about?
Most of that is us trying to reassure ourselves. But,
right.
But, I think, and this is the way I feel about it. If I get up, by the time I get up, get the tent unzipped, fall all over myself, because I don't sleep with my shoes on.
Right.
If by the time I get my shoes on, get the tent unzipped, get out, this thing's done gonna be a mile away by the time I get my fat butt up and running.
Right. That zipper's loud too, right? That tent zipper. I mean, it's not stealthy, y'all. It's not stealthy.
And you're not going to be quiet getting on and off of an air mattress. I guarantee you that. So, especially if you do what I did. The first night that I had this cot and this air mattress set up, right? I'm snoozing pretty good. And I don't know, I guess the air mattress had gotten over to one side of the cot. And I rolled over and it flipped me. And the next thing I know, I'm laying on the ground between the wall of my tent and my cot with the air mattress on top of me. So
been there. I've had the same thing happen. Or like one person lays down on it and sits down. The other person flies up in the air. If you got two people on it, total disaster. But okay.
I'm of the mind that I'm going to lay there and not disturb this thing and let it, and hopefully make it think that I don't know what's going on, and maybe I'll get more.
Right. I think that's how I feel too. If it thinks that we're sleeping, that's when it's going to, I'm not going to say perform, like come out, but it's always when everybody starts snoring, Tex.
Yeah.
I've noticed that, when snoring starts echoing through the base camp from every direction, the Bigfoots come in and start triangulating around camp, and they'll whoop over here and they'll whoop over there. And then you'll hear a whoop behind you and little whistles and things. And I feel like they're letting each other know where they are. And that, hey, everything's A-okay over here. We got this big dude snoring over here. This chick snoring over here. Good to go. Let's go see what's up. Let's go have
Yeah,
some real
because
fun, y'all. Yeah.
it would make sense if these creatures are half as intelligent as we give them credit for. They've got to know what snoring means. You're asleep,
Yeah.
and that it's safe for them to move in and look at stuff they're curious about, get a little closer. So yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. That's been my experience. These things are smarter than we give them credit for. I think they're smarter than we are. Some of them.
Who's this? All I can see is make out is Johnny and the looks like a Dallas Cowboy star.
The people who do go out never say anything because of your ridicule. Johnny, I agree with you. And that's why I did not talk about my research for 10 years. I kept it quiet. So, but here I am. Well, I called myself a bull in a china shop yesterday. I'm a bull in a china shop right now. And I just don't care anymore. So, we're all going to get ridiculed for what we talk about, but it's okay. Mm-hmm. It's okay. I quit worrying about that. So,
Me too.
And I hope that by Tex and I talking about this tonight, a bunch of other people will quit worrying about it too, and come out and be proud, y'all. Be proud. We're there. Not everybody gets an opportunity to experience Bigfoot and Dogman and ghosts and all that stuff.
I will say this, getting back on the Dogman topic.
Mm-hmm.
I will say this: when people start talking about how they're metaphysical and interdimensional and art versus physical and all this kind of stuff, I don't think they are all the same. And I think it's the same way with Bigfoot. I think there's entities out there that, well, you got say you got hellhounds and what they call devil dogs and hellhounds. I don't think those are physical dog, what we call dogmen. The one that I saw, hands down, I think it was physical. The ones that attack these people, I think we're physical. There's a paranormal aspect to what that surrounds these creatures for some reason. It's not just Dogman, but Bigfoot also. And I don't think any researcher worth his salt. Now, a lot of them, and I'll tell you, I know a lot, and a lot of the big names too, that always talk about the ape, always talk about this. They don't talk about all this strange crap that happened to them while they were doing all this stuff, because they don't want to get thrown into that what we call the woo camp, And so it's not only being ridiculed in the public eye. People get ridiculed in this community because of the different experiences they have. If you've got somebody that's in, that people follow in the ape camp or whatever, and he or she starts talking about, all this other high strangeness that they've ran into, they just shatter this group of people's reality, and they'll lose street cred, and I don't understand that, because there is so much paranormal stuff that is intertwined with these creatures that surrounds them, and I don't know what's drawn to what. I haven't figured that one out yet, but I do know that 9 times out of 10 they exist in the same areas. What that means, I do not know.
I don't know, but we're working on trying to figure all this stuff out, Tex. Right? We're trying. And, and we may not have the same views on everything, and our experiences may be totally different. Even between Tex and I, I believe Bigfoot's interdimensional, and I believe they come in and out of portals, and maybe Tex doesn't feel that way because he's, he hasn't experienced that. But we just have different experiences. It doesn't mean it's not real. And, that's not our reality and what we've experienced. So, we both appreciate the discussion and bouncing ideas off of each other. And we don't judge, and we just, we have fun. I mean, what good is all this stuff we're doing if we can't have fun talking about it and just, it nothing makes sense. Okay. Right. Tex. Well, a lot of this doesn't make sense, but
yeah. and the thing about it is, if more people from, and I think Mid-South, from what I can see, has a comment about that. he says, what does he say? I can't read it all.
The Bigfoot community has the worst people in it that love to try and demeanor your research. They demean your research big time. Some people do.
And that is true. And
that is very true.
That goes to the point that I was fixing to make. We need more people that can come together and have respectful conversations that do disagree, that have had totally different experiences, but they need to be open-minded enough. Both sides need to be open-minded enough to go, well, maybe they're not interdimensional. Maybe this was something else. And the other side of the camp needs to go, well, maybe maybe there is something that's otherworldly about these creatures or whatever. So I think that's how we're going to learn, if we learn to talk to each other first with respect. Don't just dismiss somebody just because their experience is different than yours.
Hey, I've changed my mind on air before. Okay. So doing a live show, I have changed my mind because, somebody puts up some credible evidence or just something to change my mind. I'll change my mind. It's okay. Yep. That's the thing. I am willing to change my mind, and I am open to any kind of conversation about this stuff. So, and Tex, I am very humbled and grateful that you and your team with Rob and Jason and Randy and Bob, all you guys, you're all very accepting of, the remote viewing aspect of the things that I do, and bringing that on to your team, because a lot of people don't understand remote viewing, and they, and it's got that psychic thing going on, and, that's super woo, right? Super woo. So, I really appreciate that we're able to, connect and just explore it, and bring it in with the paranormal research that we're doing, and really getting down and dirty into these subjects, like the Beast of the LBL, right?
Yeah. And I got to tell you, Jessica, to me, the way I look at it, we're all tools in the tool belt.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Randy's the paranormal and tech guy. Jason's the theological one. Rob, we haven't figured that one out yet, but I kid. Rob, his experience is so rare that he had. Not only did he see Bigfoot, not only did he see her vocalization, he saw the Bigfoot vocalize, and the way the face changed when he did it. That to me, that brings an aspect. He's not very boots on the ground yet, but he's heading that direction. But he brings so many other tools to the table. He's a valuable asset. To me, it would be very arrogant to me, and I think it's very arrogant of anybody to not use any tool that's available to them to possibly find out more of what's going on. So me, I'm just a dumbass running around in the trees. So,
hey, I am too, but I put a little spin on it. I got a little remote viewing skills to go with it.
But I got to tell you, I was very surprised when you agreed to come on board with us, because I didn't expect you to say yes. But I'm very, very happy that you did.
Well, thank you. Me too.
We now have, like I said, another tool in our tool belt to drill down to the truth as much as possible.
Yeah. Well, it was a no-brainer for me. I had actually, I'm at a point in my life where I'm ready to, explore new horizons and do new things. And I am not scared to step out of my comfort zone and do things that I've never done before. And I've not been on a podcast with a group of people before. And I thought, I remember praying one day, and I was like, God, just whatever opportunities that come across my path, I'll take them. Just send them to me. And it was the next week you asked me if I'd be interested in joining the team and doing a show. And I was like, absolutely. So everything happens for a reason, but it's all about getting out of your comfort zone and, and taking opportunities and taking a leap of faith sometimes, because that's what I did. That's how I got in the Bigfooting world. Was I went out into the woods with a bunch of strange dudes that I didn't know, because they invited me, and I did it. and and here I am today. So, I wouldn't be right here if I had not done that. So
That's
I
true.
suggest everybody do things like that. Y'all, everybody do something that scares the hell out of you at least once a year. Okay. If it's not going out and confronting Dogman, do something. Okay.
Now, I'm not saying everybody needs to go out and roam around the woods. Don't do that unless you know what you're doing, because it ain't these critters that you got to worry about. It's, you busting a leg or getting lost or, running out of water or something. Those are the real dangers out there, and not to mention the local wildlife. So, and know your area. And, this number one priority, if you're going to go out and do this, don't do it alone. I know. I know. I do. I get beat up for it. That's my thing. Don't do it. If you're already doing it, hey, that's on you. But I suggest you do not do this alone. And just safety is number one.
Safety is number one. Yeah. Safety is number one. You know what number two is to me? Having your head on straight.
Yes.
Okay. And I won't take anybody out in the woods. Well, I don't take anybody out in the woods with me at all. Oh, Bigfoot, Michigan Rob just put up a super chat text.
Awesome. Thank you.
Our illustrious co-host, who's not here tonight, but he would normally be here. Thank you, Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. So that's awesome. Very awesome. Yeah. I forgot what I was just saying.
Jessica,
BMR just threw me off. Yeah.
He's good at that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rob, brother. Appreciate that. It's when we start talking about people working together, it is hard. I thought, well, it's not so much now, but when bringing like other people that believe differently than you do out in the field with you, I was worried when I started doing it that it was going to be difficult. We wouldn't, be on the same page and everything. But I got to tell you, if you'll just have a little meeting, get on the same page. If this happens, let me know. If this, whatever. It's an eye-opening experience. It really, really is. If you'll just give that, you may not believe the same way they do, but if you'll just give them that little what if,
Yeah.
it will open avenues and doors and windows that you would not believe. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what I was saying was I don't take anyone out in the woods with me just because, like I said, I'm always telling everybody I'm pretty inoculated to the high strangeness, and where my team goes is really for research, but I would love to go camping with my friends. I mean, you can have Bigfoot experiences just going to a campground, a public campground, there's just as much activity at a public campground as there is out in the deep, deep woods sometimes. So, I think a lot of people attract the high strangeness text. Okay. So, anybody that goes camping with me is probably going to get something to happen that night. Okay. There's going to be an ET, a UFO, there's going to be a Bigfoot, there's going to be a ghost, and maybe we'll even get a little portal thrown in there. Who knows? Who knows? Always going to be an orb, though. I can promise you that. Okay. All right. Well, Tex, are we gonna take this to 11, or you want to cut it out right now? How are you feeling tonight?
I think we're at a good stopping point.
I think we're at a great stopping point. I think this has been a great discussion, and I think our chats tonight were just off the charts, and you guys are amazing, and this has been an amazing experience. I hope that everybody learned something tonight, and I hope that y'all had fun. Okay, and please be safe in the woods, y'all. And if anybody's planning on going to the LBL Tex, please be safe. Okay.
Y'all don't forget to share us out.
Yeah,
Please,
everybody
you know and people you don't know. I don't care.
Absolutely. And if anybody wants the raw data from tonight of the Beast of LBL and the attacks that I did remote view, which do appear to be real attacks, and there's multiple attacks with multiple beasts, join my Patreon. Okay. It's the Cryptid Huntress on Patreon. Also, you can follow me at the Cryptid Huntress on YouTube and on Facebook and Instagram and all those places. Okay. And also follow Texas Front Porch, everybody. Subscribe to his YouTube channel if you haven't already. Bigfoot Michigan Rob. It's Brunch with Bigfoot Michigan Rob is is it Thursday, right? Every Thursday. We got Texas Front Porch every Monday. Jason McLean questions everything every Wednesday. And Bob Van Buren's show is what day? Is that Tuesday?
Tuesday at 7 p.m.
Tuesdays.
His show's a little tamer because he don't delve into the weird stuff as much. Every once in a while he will. But his is more down to earth, but it's a variety of stuff. Go check out his channel. Go subscribe. Show Bob some love, guys, please.
Yes, everybody subscribe. Yes, and okay, so I got to hit the sack tonight, y'all. I got to get up at like 5 a.m. I'm going to be at the Georgia Bigfoot Conference tomorrow morning. It's going to be an all-day event. I'm going to be speaking. I even made a little tiny PowerPoint presentation, y'all. So yeah, y'all come join me, okay? It's going to be so fun. GeorgiaBigfootConference.org in Clayton, Georgia tomorrow. And, of course, in June, we got the Alabama Bigfoot Conference with tags. So to everybody watching tonight, please join me again next week. I'm going to have another amazing, cool target. And we're going to dive deep into another paranormal attack. So Tex, thank you for joining me tonight. And everybody, thanks for tuning in. I want to thank Randy in the background for taking care of us on the backside. And we'll see y'all next week. Y'all have a great weekend.
Yeah, everybody.
Bye.